Hopefully everybody's not hearing my kids yelling at each other.
It's ambiance.
It's ambiance, right? Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show, the weekly podcast from Beacon DeFi, your beacon in the world of decentralized finance. I'm your host, Professor Chris. We've got a great show lined up for you as we tackle the news of the week that's relevant to you, our dear users in the world of on-chain investing. Today on the show, we have, making his grand return since our time in New York City, the head of ecosystem at Drosera Network. We have Jirachi back with us. Welcome, sir. How are things at Drosera?
Things are fantastic. Thanks for having me back again, Chris. I'm always happy to be here, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're still at hopefully we'll hear from our featured panelist that's going to be Chopin from Symphony AI. And we'll hopefully get him on here in just a minute. So with that said, let's go ahead and head out to the numbers. And essentially, we're here on CoinGecko, and the numbers are looking interesting. I would probably say 117.8 for Bitcoin, Ethereum roughly about just under 3,800. It almost touched 4K a couple of days ago. But there's a lot of things on the table today, Jirachi, that we'll talk about in just a minute. Looking at what on earth is this? Don't know what all this is for, but you know.
But they're eating.
Richard Harton and his group are eating, ladies and gentlemen. The rest of the market probably a little bit of uneasiness. Probably looking to see if there's going to be specifically a rate cut today. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So, any thoughts on the market since it's been a little bit since you've been on the show, sir, in terms of what you're seeing out there? Your thoughts with regards to your bags. And let's look at the month view just to kind of put things in perspective to where we were probably since we talked.
Ethereum, please listen to me loud and clear. Give me my NFT season. We're here. Like, look at the price, look at the action, look at look at the green bubbles from the month. Like, give me my NFT season, please. We're getting closer by the minute. My bags have been doing fantastic. I've been incredibly happy, man, the past month or so. It's been great, especially some of these really good ETH betas that we'd kind of discussed before. We'd chatted a little bit about on some of the other casts we've been on together, which has been great. Things have been going really well. I've been really happy to see more and more regulatory, which I'm sure we'll discuss, more and more regulatory advantages kind of coming our direction. There seems to be more and more good vibes and good stuff. And most importantly of all, the numbers in the charts are green. There's really not much to love right now, you know?
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, let's get another NFT season rolling. I mean, it's not like we're not close. There's a lot. Okay, so there's a lot of movement. I think I even saw somebody went and paid $8 million to sweep hoodies on CryptoPunks earlier this week. So floor is now up to 200 ETH on the hoodie trait for CryptoPunks. This isn't in the agenda, but ultimately, I guess even last cycle, if you want to say that, well, did NFTs lead the way, or were they the start of the way down?
I think that they were last cycle I think they were kind of the start of the way down.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I think it could be a similar kind of predictive, like a lagging indicator. We still haven't seen this return to, of course I'm going to use my milady Remelia, my Remelia standards. We still haven't returned to the 3.5 ETH Miladies. We haven't returned to the 1.5, 1.2 plus ETH Remelios. We're getting there. It's getting closer by the minute in the day. And we're starting to see that a lot across a lot of ETH collections. Activity's picking up, things are moving, people are buying again, there's sweeps happening. I do agree with you though. There is a history of NFTs doing well being a good predictor for where the market is headed.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's, it's like the indicator, but it's something that as part of the rotation, right? Ultimately, it really is going to be different this time around. I really do think so. Mainly because I do think that there's going to be better foresight from a lot of teams to know exactly, what it is that they need to do this time forward. Maybe even the players are different, right? Because now we have real revenue driving a lot of the motivation for people to get invested into not just NFTs, but essentially brands now, right? Pudgy Penguins is a brand. CryptoPunks are a brand. Same thing with anything on Yuga with other side and all that type of stuff. So, and ultimately you could say, Remelia, also now a brand because they all now have tokens behind them. So I don't know. That's probably the main difference, right? From this cycle to last cycle, we didn't have tokens that were heavily used to drive membership in holding these NFTs this time around. So, what's interesting is that I was honestly, I personally thought if you asked me this question like 6 months ago or last year, I thought X404 and things like that, DN404 and stuff like the right number.
Yeah. The where it's the tokens represented.
The tokens with the with fractional ownership in NFTs.
Right.
I thought that would have gotten a little bit more traction. Could it still? Maybe.
I definitely think there's an opportunity for plays involving it for people who get creative and can do things that really engage users and get people excited, get them excited about that. I think the big problem has been we saw, like, look at the Stone Toss guys, right? They did that. They released the Burgers Mint. They did that whole song and dance. And a lot of people weren't very happy with it. And it was largely because they didn't understand how it worked. They were buying the tokens thinking, oh, well, I'll have X number of tokens. It'll equal X number of NFTs or something similar, which is, yes, how it works. But at the same time, you had people who were like, oh, I'm going to sell half of my bag, like right here, I'm going to take profit here. And suddenly they don't, quote unquote, have an NFT anymore because
they burnt it.
Tokens. Right. Yep. Right. So I do think that played a role. So, and that, at the end of the day, for new and cool and exciting tech like that, what does it always come back around to? I know you already know the education.
Exactly.
If people don't know about it and they don't get it and they can't understand how to use it, it makes it difficult for you to enjoy it as a collectible asset, much less a speculative one. So it's different. It's definitely tough. But me personally, like when the Fungi 404 and the derivative versions of DN404 started coming out and these different little offshoots, that was something we were really excited about. Right. We saw those start to come around and I loved it. I loved that wave of the on-chain interactions. They were complex. They were really interesting. Gas absolutely ate me alive, but that's besides the point. It was cool. It was fun. It was very engaging. So I think we'll start to see a renaissance of that kind of activity happening again. That's my hope for sure. And then of course, as the EF, as the foundation continues their focus on increasing the blob count, increasing latency and all these different things with the main net on the chain, I think we'll end up seeing a world where people are excited to innovate again. Because that's been stagnant for a little while. There's been a stunning lack of on-chain innovation, which has been kind of sad. There hasn't been a lot of stuff like that, but we'll see it as the excitement grows.
Yeah, because 7702 was a big UX change, and I think hopefully once that starts to settle in amongst all the EVM compatible chains, that'll be a better experience. I think with what they're going to put into Glamsterdam, that could definitely be a big thing for the next fork. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that today is the celebration of 10 years since the first Genesis block on July 30th, 10 years ago. That's hard for me to stomach, to be quite honest. I'm like, man, I'm old. For
10 years.
I know, 10 years. 23 million blocks, billions of transactions, trillions of dollars of settlement, and a world built on top of smart contracts in beautiful layers, 1 through 3. Starting a revolution, in my personal opinion, regardless of how you feel about the original co-founders of Ethereum and what they've branched off to now do. If you're talking about Vitalik or Charles or Gavin or any of these others, Joe, I mean, it's kind of crazy to see where we've come in 10 years and where we're going to be going. So happy 10 years to Ethereum. Originally, of course, a proof of work blockchain, but now a proof of stake blockchain with the Beacon hard fork, not related to us, almost 3 years ago now. But yeah, may the goal to be ultrasound continue, and a celebration of not only a blockchain that's just decentralized, but anti-fragile, censorship resistant, non-sovereign. Nobody owns this. Yeah, man. What are your thoughts on this? I know you have some on this.
No, 10 years is, first of all, it's just more and more proof that Ethereum's never going anywhere. Ethereum is never going anywhere. Censorship resistant, distributed, decentralized. It's the original ethos, regardless of how much it might have deviated from the very first days, still holds strong. The original plan, the original want, the original need, it's all still there. I fight with a lot of people about this, especially as it relates to, of course, the transition from proof of work to proof of stake. But at the end of the day, show me someone else who did it like these guys did it. There's not an example. They're in a class all their own. The Ethereum blockchain, in a general sense, is going to continue to be what it has always been, which is this amazing, evolving tool for us to be able to use. 10 years ago, a new internet was founded. It's a whole different world than what it was. Bitcoin, obviously amazing. The first, who can knock it? Who can do anything besides say exactly the truth about it, which is that it's absolutely amazing and it was a requirement. But Ethereum is just that unbeatable upgrade that enables all of us to be able to do so much more than we could before. And man, 10 years is crazy. It's hard to even think about.
Yeah, 10 years is absolutely crazy. And we're on the precipice of them hitting that next all-time high, right? Because we're getting close to 4K. They don't have too much longer to hit 5K, and that'll get us to our all-time high. Reports as high as 10K by the end of the year, all things considering with what happens today. So speaking of today, we have a Fed decision coming in roughly 45 minutes. For those of you who like to use Polymarket as your source of news, the overwhelming majority believe that there's going to be no change. And frankly, they're probably, well.
Right. No, I get it.
There's one thing that could throw an interesting wrench into this, and I don't think it will, because Chairman Powell is a data-driven guy, and that's what he was brought in for when he was first brought in by President Trump back in 2018, is to produce a data-driven look at with regards to controlling the rates, controlling interest. Now, let's be very honest at why Trump wants rate cuts. He's like he wants to be in the top 10. I mean, I don't know why we need to be in league with the Seychelles and the Maldives with the lowest central bank rate. That's fine, but frankly, the reason is because they have several $1 trillion in debt that they need to refinance, and they want to do it the cheapest way possible within the given frame. But this is interesting. Real GDP actually beat expectations, Darachi, at 3% for Q2, which is probably going to outpace a lot of what a lot of people were thinking. So with that said, does this number suddenly rise? I still think no, but
No, I think it's pretty clear that first of all, there's not going to be a rate change. I'm very firmly in the camp of I don't think that's going to happen today. Eyeing September and looking slightly further down the line, right? I see the possibility for something in September. I don't think that there is going to be that today. I think that there's still a lot of dust that needs to settle surrounding the 10 million other economic things that we have going on besides just that right now. And I do think a lot of that, the expectation, of course, the expectation has been this since the beginning of the year, that within the next 15 to 30 days, a lot of those conversations will be wrapped up and we'll have a much clearer view of where we're going to be heading. Even today, like it, love it, hate it, there is quite a number of those conversations that are getting wrapped up. Deals are being made, things are being put in place. People are starting to see the additional lines of stability that are being built and being settled. But I also think too, at the same time, that, you know, there is almost a peak of excess of home builders stock at the moment. So I think at this moment in time, there's something like, I think they're like 12 months ahead on new home stock that's been built that they haven't been able to move, or something higher. So there is this balancing act that you've got to play, where you want people buying houses, you want people expediting that market, getting people into housing, getting houses bought, reducing the backlog of what's available. But at the same time, cutting the rate disproportionately affects inflation in a number of different ways. So it's a complex balancing act. It's a tough position to be in for anyone. And of course, I don't envy Powell, because I don't think anybody's been happy with him, despite any good decision, bad decision, or otherwise that he might have made. He's in a bad spot. It's in a tough spot for anybody to be popular with, you know. But I'm eyeing September. I'm eyeing September, October, that kind of area. I do think we'll have a lot better odds of seeing some change with that then. Of course, the question also becomes, what will the home builders backlog of stock look like at that point? You know, are they going to be 14, 16, 15 months over? And how long will it take for them to get rid of that stock, you know, if the rate's not cut? These are important questions.
No, and I completely agree. I think if anything, the most we get this year is 75 basis points. I don't think we see the 100 basis point cut. And I think we get 25 bips in September, and then in November we get the extra 50. We'll see how that goes. Ultimately, he's in his lame duck stage, right? Because his contract ends next May. He's definitely not going to be put back in. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Ultimately, for those who don't know, he still technically is just one vote on that whole board. So it takes more than one person to come up with this decision. So we'll go ahead and get you bring back in here. We do have our featured guest here. We do have Chopin from our co-founder from Symphony AI here today. How are you, Chopin?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. We're going to pop into some other pieces of the news. Just wanted to introduce you to our community. Met him at a fantastic event. I was at, oh wow, you turned his camera on. You don't have to turn your camera, but it's all good. Met you at an event in Midtown Manhattan. I was hanging out with Dynas from Spin Finance. So shout out to Dynas. I see him at every single event I ever go to, along with my friend Miro, who wears a concrete blocker on a gold chain and calls it his blockchain. If you ever see them, or Taco, of course, from for everybody knows Taco. So, but yeah, went into some random alley, ended up at Freeman's, walked up the stairs, and you're the first person I met. So, thanks for being here. How's things going?
Things are going great. Yeah, can't complain. The market's being the market, but everything on the Symphony side and what we've been building has been exponentially going well. So we can't complain there. People are happy in our community, and product is doing numbers. So everything's going well.
That's good to hear. We'll go ahead and pop back into the news because we do have some things to talk about before we get to our featured guest here with Symphony. The other big news of the day is going to be, what is the White House going to unveil? I've been checking religiously for the last, 3 hours. They have not actually put out the crypto policy report. I am just kind of, refreshing here just to make sure that we don't miss it, because he will be, the president will be very quick to do so if that's the case. So ultimately, when we're talking about what's going to be happening, with this crypto policy, it's really going to be more of just reaffirming everything that's been happening over the last 6 months since the inauguration. So we'll hear a report on stablecoins, market structure with the Clarity Act, with the Genius Act that was passed. We'll definitely hear about oversight, seeing where things are going to be facing, even though the Clarity Act hasn't been signed at his desk just yet. But we'll get a lot of indicators for that. It should be fairly bullish for the industry overall. We'll get absolutely clear rules for the road, as they've said. But based on accounts that we're seeing on the timeline, it's very possible that we will not hear about the SBR, the Strategic Bitcoin or Strategic Digital Asset Reserve, today. With regards to the president's Trump Media's Truth Social ETF, that has been paused for acknowledgement until I think September, or October, one of the two. So it's going to be a while before we hear any of that as well. So hopefully that's fairly bullish and smooth moves along the way as we get there. So as we hear about it, I mean, we really have seen everything over the last 6 months. I don't think anything changes, to be quite honest, but it'll probably signal to the rest of, frankly, the world, if not the country, that we're going to be seeing changes in crypto policy. So Jirachi, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on if this is going to make the image for crypto any better amongst the majority of Americans here in this country?
You know, I bounce back and forth between, I think the report isn't going to tell anybody anything they don't already know, or
Right.
closely align with policy that they don't already kind of have an idea around. But ultimately, what I do think it's going to do, which is something that we need more of every single day, is we're going to continue seeing the administration push more and more Americans towards a world where they feel comfortable with crypto. You know, when the president is using his position to be able to make it feel safer, better, more regulated in a way that's still advantageous to all of us in the industry who are happy about it, I really think that's a big win, as long as that is what happens. Because there is, you know, there's a lot of questions around the Genius Act. There's a lot of questions around the way banks and stablecoins are going to be able to interact, whether it's going to make it better, worse, or something altogether different for average Americans. You know, on one hand, on the maxi side, I'm very inclined to lean towards more, yes, put more stable coins in people's hands. I have no, that's what I want more than anything. On the other side, I really don't want to see JP Morgan start a stable coin and then rake half of half of the industry into their coffers. I don't, you know, it's just the opposite of what I would like to see. Jamie Dixon can, yeah. But anyways, exactly. So in general, I do think that it's bullish. I do think it's good. I think people feel safer whenever their government is telling them, you know, hey, this is how X, Y, and Z is going to work, because it feels like they've got a little bit of a leg to stand on. And even more so, if we could see some advantageous tax policy, you know, I'd be a very happy man. I'd be a very, very happy man, right?
Same. Chopin, any thoughts while you're here on the line with regards to, you know, mass adoption of crypto through these pro-crypto policies in the government?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. Now it's the government, so we'll have to see exactly how that plays out, because we always know like they put the red tape on everything as long as they can have their hands in it. But I definitely think in the global aspect of everything, it's bullish for the ecosystem as a whole. I think it's something that everyone assumed it was needed to be done, and because I think the old way of thinking, like no government, no nothing, like that's just not how it's going to work, especially if you want to become the established industry that we all imagine. And so I think it shows promise. You know, there's several concerns, including, you know, potential conflicts between, you know, builders, institutions, liquidities, how all those deals will kind of work out. But the clarity around stable coins, you know, requires kind of high, like I think it is a big step towards like these bank grade rails that may accelerate institutional use, good for like, which will help with good for on-chain liquidity and payments, but it doesn't necessarily eliminate the peg or broader risk from the treasury market spillovers and stuff like that. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I think, you know, if anybody's going to get it done, it's going to be this administration at the moment. I think they've been the most pro crypto, as we can see. I mean, obviously, if a sitting president is able to launch multiple coins, you have to have some hope that he's able to like put some good regulations that will be advantageous to the ecosystem as a whole. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and see how this plays out. But yeah.
Step number one, always have a son over the age of 18 able to take care of all of that information for you, because they have come out and said multiple times that there's no conflict of interest with everything that's going on with the president's projects, because most likely they're all handled by Barron. Quite but yeah, great point, Jirachi, about getting things in people's hands. It's a great segue to what's coming next. PayPal drives officially, they've been testing this for a while. It's official now. You can use pay with crypto inside of PayPal's app. I personally have not used this as a fairly heavy PayPal user myself. I do think that this is actually fairly significant for two reasons. First off, they get access to the hundreds of millions of people who use PayPal with regards to crypto. Number two, the transaction service fee for using pay with crypto is 0.99%, which I guess is a better way of saying less than 1%, which is lower than the fees you would normally see for regular debit and credit card transactions, which is, let's be honest, this is a massive disruption overall, because this is PayPal. The one reason why a lot of people like groups like PayPal, even groups like Sony, to be here in DeFi is because they've got better distribution than the majority of these projects out here. As much as we love supporting our builders, we're going to need the distribution help to get people into this space. And another big point, if you end up using, you can use, I guess, up to 100 different cryptos here. You can't really, let me see if I can zoom in here on the, to see if I can just do this. There we go. That's better. Let me zoom in on this. So if you can see here, the wallets that you can connect are good. This is a good group, right? You have Coinbase, or the Base app is what's going to be called now. Binance, MetaMask, PayPal. I guess PayPal has a wallet now. Kraken's wallet, Phantom's wallet, and OKX, which is another big, put into here. So good to see that's there. And for me, I'll give my take on why this is actually really important for us as education, for us as trying to reach people out there. The majority of people who are using PayPal now, they're side hustlers, they're gig workers, freelance people. They're going to be able to pay for things or move things into crypto much easier thanks to PayPal. So Chopin, we'll start with you before we move to Jirachi and his thoughts on this. This is a pretty big move in terms of, as you mentioned just now, just payment rails and commerce.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with your idea of like the distribution rails. I think it ties into this, like, overall interoperability push for like bringing in, new users into crypto and making it more familiar. So I think it's a nice kind of Trojan horse for bringing people into the ecosystem. Now, I don't think this should be like the end goal, or what everyone should strive for is just PayPal becoming crypto and like overtaking that, because I think they'll start bringing in a lot of their old age ideas into the what we're trying to build in this system. But I think it definitely helps with, like, even on the stablecoin matter, right? Stablecoin commerce now gets like a serious merchant acquirer. So, that's credible to mass bid to the stablecoin rails for default, like you said, for all these like hustlers and default for international checkouts and stuff like that. But I think we kind of had to use this as like a proof point in the ecosystem, as industries or institutions are now taking it more seriously. We're seeing it play into everyday life, and it's a step in the right direction. But we still have to still fundamentally think about what was crypto specifically made for, and how do we still ensure that those same ideals get played out into these new big heavyweight institutions that are coming in, not to get over, or not to drown out all the experiments that are running in crypto at the moment. So I think for adoption, it's great. I think for non-US expansion timing to pay with crypto, it's great. And then, it might even help with proper regulation approvals in the future, because obviously I think regulators would take PayPal's arguments more seriously than they will take some random DeFi app that's yelling at them. So I think overall it's good, but you know, we got to make sure we don't lose ourselves in the process of getting in the excitement of like these institutions coming in. So, but that would be my only caveat.
Yeah, completely agree, and you really nailed that there. Wow, Jirachi, we've got some things to unpack with this one, specifically based on what the main connection to most people will be here, which is PYUSD, which is PayPal stablecoin that they have broke custodied through Paxos. When it first came out, it was not received well on ETH mainnet. I think for many months they had less than $4 million in market cap. It wasn't until they actually made the expansion move with Solana, and we always call Solana the people's blockchain for that reason, because frankly, that's where PYUSD should have been launched in the first place. You're not going to get it with traction on ETH mainnet, where mostly it's just, a lot of dormant whales and institutions who don't want to deal with that. So in addition to having PYUSD as the main rail here, one thing that's notable is that if you are holding PYUSD in this app, you actually are going to earn 4% on that, which is much better than what you'll get in your savings account. So I'm hoping, or I'm thinking, and I say this because, for transparency, my wife does do gig work, and so she uses PayPal to move money to our bank. She probably won't do that now, considering she can just convert it to PYUSD and earn roughly 4% for just holding it there. So just want to get your thoughts overall, just to build on top of what Chopin already said.
My biggest, so first of all, I love this in the sense of, once again, it's this dual-sided thing where I'm excited about putting this in more people's hands. I'm excited in more normal people being able to engage with it, understand it, and even being able to do simple things. Like I work with a ton of freelancers. I would so rather take care of them this way than do it through Fiverr or do it through Upwork or do it through any of these platforms where there's an even bigger fee and there's all this stuff tacked on and they don't get their money right away. And there's a million reasons why it's better, and you can still work within the bounds of something like that. But the flip side of that is, my big concern is I've had several PayPal accounts get blown up with money in it. I have, I've been doing drop shipping I was a kid doing like sneaker botting and like doing all these different things. And of course, when you've got $20,000 in a PayPal account and PayPal decides to lock your shit up and you can't get to any of that money until, you go through your appeals process, and then maybe they unlock it and they get it back to you. It terrifies me to see them with a stranglehold on a crypto eco, even if it's of their own creation, at the end of the day. So I'm very skeptical overall of PayPal because I've had so many bad experiences with them, getting my funds locked up for absolutely no reason. To their credit, there's never been a time so far where I wasn't able to get my money back, but that's besides the point. When you've got all your dough locked up in a PayPal you can't touch, I would hate to see the same thing happen for their crypto eco. I think that would be something that would tank pretty quickly. I think a lot of people would be very upset if they were not, if they were doing any form of censorship, much less locking up people's funds like that. But at the same time, I guarantee you that's one of the advantages they see of owning it themselves. When they've got the whole eco under their thumb, they can do whatever they want, and that's one of the advantages of it. So I definitely see how it could be negative and how it could be positive. I hope and I pray that this doesn't become like the newest preferred form of a scam. Like, don't go to a Bitcoin ATM, just swap for PYUSD, in your PayPal. My old sweet grandmother, who doesn't know that's not me. There's so many vectors. Like, there's just so many. It always introduces additional stuff like that. But overall, I give it a 6 out of 10 because I'm excited still. I really want normal people to feel good and comfortable about using it. And when you see companies like PayPal adopt the tech, it does increase trust. It does, for sure.
I gotta start paying you for these segues, brother. You got my heart pumping. Because you are pushing all the buttons, because yes, this is all great, but self-custody is the name of the game, because as Jirachi just said, you ever had your Coinbase taken away, if you ever had your PayPal shut down due to quote unquote reasons they can't think of because they have AI controlling everything to control your money, self-custody is the way. Best way to learn about self-custody and all things great about DeFi is to check out our site here at Total Value Locked. Shout out to Ope Explorer. Shout out to Jojo B. Thanks for being here today, being here for Symphony, our main guests. Learn more about Symphony, about Drosera, and all these great things at our group here, school.com/beacon. Absolutely free to join, guys. Join the many, many, many people who have looked to us, the tens of thousands we have helped onboard into this space since 2021. Check out our Start Here post. Again, absolutely free to join. Get a message from myself and our co-founder, Andrew, where you can learn more about our offerings and really just check out our free content. If you want to do more, we are running our special Beacon Challenge offer. I'm going to cover Chopin's face for a second. BeaconDeFi.io/challenge. Do check that out if you'd like to take the challenge, make your first $1 in DeFi within 48 hours. And again, thanks so much to everybody who is a member of our groups, whether it's our Beacon Mastermind as well as our Beacon Challenge, and of course our guests for being here today. We do have Jirachi here from Head of Ecosystem at Drosera, and we have Chopin, co-founder of Symphony, who we will talk to in just a minute about that. One thing I wanted to bring up before we moved forward was this interesting, this fun piece that I saw last week. We actually covered this almost 2.5 years ago. We've been doing this show since December 2021, guys, if you didn't know that. So our job here is to educate our audience on the things good and bad in the world of crypto, Web3, DeFi, and blockchain investing. I don't know if you guys have heard this story, but a Denver grand jury has finally indicted a married couple in an alleged multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency scam. How dare you use a church to rug people, sir? This is for Eli and Caitlin Regalado, forming what was called the Kingdom Wealth Exchange, the Holy CEX, which unfortunately had lots of holes in their model because their tech failed dramatically, and they rugged their users for roughly 4.3 million through their INDX coin. Now, they actually got indicted for fraudulent things because they used that money specifically to spend millions of dollars renovating their home, which Eli Regalado said that God had told him to build. And during the hearing said he might have misheard God in this context. Well, what's interesting is that they didn't offer fractional ownership of the church. Maybe that probably would have worked out better because we actually have covered, there's a church, I think it's called the Good Little Church or something in Colorado, on here before. They offer fractional NFTs. I don't know if it's a bad idea. We're not going to spend too much time on this because frankly, we could talk about this for hours. I'm curious, do you guys think that the next big direction for mega churches is to, now that crypto is obviously going to be very legal with stable coins and whatnot, could the next mega churches in America, because they're not tech companies, offer stable coins? Could they be crypto based? Because they already have tax advantage status. And I'm really hoping I'm not setting off a whole bunch of boats, inspiring a lot of, oh goodness, what have I done? I don't know, Jirachi, what do you think?
You know, I wish the same God would talk to me.
I know.
That's crazy. Oh my God, I haven't seen this before. I didn't know they had like gotten indicted by a grand jury.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
took them
crazy.
2 years.
That's crazy. That's not well, but look, without things like this happening, ultimately, what's the fear from bad actors? You know, there's no, if you can operate and you can do this kind of stuff with no repercussions, as has largely been the case so far, unless it was particularly big or you were particularly stupid, like in this case. You know, you could do all kinds of things and get away with it scot-free without any problems, which is a big part of the reason why our industry has the reputation that it does, you know. And as much as I am pro Wild West, very pro Wild West, I would even say, I would also say that without institutional and market adoption that comes from places that aren't just people like me who are excited about that kind of world, we will never see a world where I can pay for my dinner with USDC at the restaurant from my phone, you know, and that's really what I want at the end of the day. Like I don't want to deal with a crypto debit card. I don't want to deal with anything like that. I want crypto transactions seamlessly integrated into my day-to-day life in a way that it isn't right now. And I don't think that comes without a much stricter enforcement mechanism, like with situations like this. You know, if there's no repercussions, why not commit the crime? Ultimately, that's how a lot of people will feel. And as we get more like this, I think more and more people will be excited about safety. That it's going to continue to be a thing where they're like, man, I'm happy to work on this because I know that they can revert this. People like, I know we've discussed this a million times before, but the user experience from centralization that comes from a tight control over things like that, people actually seem to enjoy more than the Wild West in many cases. So I do think we'll continue to see this trend where there's heavy prosecutions. And on top of that too, if they hit any real ecosystem that belongs to a corporation, I think it's going to be legendary. I mean, if somebody somehow, you know, if somebody were to do something to exploit Pi USD, I mean, can you imagine? I can't imagine what the guys from PayPal would do, but the litigation would be crazy though. It would be next, you know, otherworldly. So I do think we'll keep seeing that. I do think for sure we will. I hope anyways.
Yeah, and I think when you talked about, you know, things that you can trust, I think it's a great segue into our featured panelist today. Let's get to talking about Symphony, the first agentic financial layer. We have the co-founder here, Chopin, who I met in New York City, with the ability to you know, unlock all of DeFi instantly without the complexity. And really great project. Really enjoyed what I've seen so far. Great community. Shout out to the community. Shout out to the Discord that you have there at Symphony. Chopin, please take it away with the with introducing the group to Symphony.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me on board. Yeah, so I'm Chopin. I'm the co-founder of Symphony and the CBO here. And so Symphony at a high level, right? We call it the first agentic financial layer. And what that means on the tech side is essentially we unify every chain in protocol into one executable layer. And we do so with the fastest cross-chain speeds in crypto at the moment. So you could do any execution from any chain to another chain in under 3 seconds, which for context is like 45 times faster than layer 0 or Axelar or any of the other ones. And that's on protocol level execution, not even just chain to chain. So what this did and what this infrastructure enabled was for this to have the precedent of removing a lot of the friction in the system. So on Symphony, you don't have to use bridges. You don't have to use multiple wallets. You don't have to pay gas fees. You don't have to deal with any pop-ups or anything like that. And it enabled our agentic rails to let agents, apps, builders, users, whoever, move liquidity, trade, deploy strategies anywhere via smart wallets, cross-chain orchestration, and verifiable execution. And so we're really trying to, with this, build out what's going to be the execution layer for the next agentic financial future, and really enable agents, because we foresee agents in the future, AI agents, overtaking the human population in crypto in terms of transactional volume and stuff. And so we work with all the top protocols all across crypto, and essentially agent teams can come in, not have to worry about any blockchain development because they can integrate into Symphony with something as simple as just a JSON, which is something that we've unlocked, and it's the easiest way possible you can do it. And be able to essentially interact and transact with all these different protocols all over DeFi. So really we're trying to liberate builders from like the blockchain complexities, but also two, agents and users alike from the friction and from like the huge learning curve of crypto in general, to pretty much democratize access to, you know, financial trading, algorithmic trading, quant level strategies, stuff like that. And the first thing that we did to kind of prove out the power of what we built with Symphony is we launched our own AI agent called Simpson. So he's the first DeFi AI agent to not only give you like tailored market support, market analysis, signals, you know, whether it's quantitative, qualitative insights, but also be able to autonomously execute on behalf of users and other agents all over crypto, like I mentioned. And so in the future, that's going to look like that, those complex trading strategies, you'll be able to come in, back test things, run different customized strategies that you can do, and you can tune the automation as much as you want, allowing people to control it or allowing people to have the agent do everything from themselves, thus democratizing, like I said, like the finance for them, but also giving people a bunch of their time back, right? Instead of people sitting in front of like the 1 minute chart, watching the candles go up and down and getting their heart racing, they can be on a beach while the agent does it for them and stuff like that. So really, really trying to, make the experience, and I know Jirashi touched on this earlier, actually, to make the user experience more convenient than it would be to use any centralized exchange. But yeah, that's like the high level, but happy to go into more of everything else.
Yeah, I'm just trying to log into Simpson for a second, but let's talk a little bit about the origin of how you came to solve this problem. So that, to me, that's probably at least for newer users. I'd love for you to explain to me in terms of, what is it that the problem is you're trying to solve for them, yep, and how Symphony is going to lead them in that direction.
For sure. Yeah. So I would say, like, we've been building in this industry for over 2 years now on this side, and our co-founders come from a bunch of different venues, whether it's Kraken, Axelar, Consensus, MetaMask, etc. So we have deep experience into building like these Web3 applications, and I think it's something that's not uncommon for anybody, regardless if you're working in DeFi, working in gaming, whatever, RWAs. It's something I call the universal pain of crypto, and that's just using crypto in general, using any application, and even just onboarding into crypto, right? It's funny, we have a lot of projects around the ecosystem that solve crypto-specific issues that crypto itself has caused, whether it's like getting from another chain to another chain or interacting with the different protocols and with different assets or whatnot, or different wallets. And all this does is really just add more friction point, especially at the entry point for people getting into crypto, right? If you've ever convinced anybody or tried to convince anybody to get onboarded on chain and utilize an application, and they want it, they finally agreed, and then you hand them the phone book manual of how to do it and say, like, don't get scammed, by the way, with all these things, it's a scary and daunting thing. And that's why like 99% of people won't try it. So we Symphony exists to eliminate like the biggest friction points that keep both humans and AI agents from trading seamlessly on chain. So at the highest level, we turn AI insights into real verifiable on-chain actions, giving these agents that are typically right now only insights based. They can think, but they can't act. And we give those agents the execution rails so that they can move capital to the instant they spot an edge, with no manual clicks, no hopping required, no hand holding, right? And we turn these agents into actual actors. And then on the user side, we essentially, because we unify all the different chains and protocols and their liquidity, therefore, there's no, slippage. There's no like, okay, this token's only on this chain, so now I have to figure out how to get to that chain. Oh, what's this gas fee? What bridge do I use? All that's all removed. And in short, really, Symphony removes the barriers of those, like I said, like fragmented liquidity, slow and risky bridging, steep UI, UX, and inconsistent dev tooling, and delivers like this real layer for execution for the agentic era of DeFi. And so that's kind of where we came from, because the first project we had ever built was a perpetuals exchange on a chain called Canto, right? And
Canto
mentioned, crazy.
RIP.
Or went out for Canto.
Yeah. So that's actually that's the origin story, right? So we won a hackathon on there, launched their flagship Perps protocol on the chain, did very well for Canto standards, right? So in 3 months, we did 300 mil in volume and a mil in revenue. But we realized, building this perp stacks, how much friction it was just to get our users to Canto. We had all these people who wanted to try us out, and they're like, how the hell do I get to Canto? And it was like, okay, here's this whole I had to write up all these docs and tutorials on how to just get to our application, which for any business, that's not scalable and that's not usable, and you don't want that. And from the user's perspective, it sucks, especially even getting off Canto was annoying. And so we really saw that. And then so while we were building that protocol out, we had come up with the technical architecture for Symphony. and really what it could do. And we saw that this vision, no one else was doing it. We were ahead of like the narratives of intents and AI agents and all that, like years before everybody else. And so that's why everything was baked into it. And what we also noticed was a lot of protocols who were trying to do something similar were relying on the current day infrastacks that already exist, right? But the problem with those current day infrastacks, like, you know, like Layer 0 and all the thing, they're great, right, for what they do, but they didn't have with the future in mind, the scalability of what was needed for, you know, the true financial era that when thousands and millions of agents and users come online. Because those things didn't enable the speed that you need necessary, specifically on the perpetual side, right? And they didn't enable the scalability. So when new projects come on, they don't have to like copy and paste their entire project source liquidity every time they go onto a new chain, right? Because chains come and go, hype comes and goes. And so what we really enabled was the liberation of people to have to like devote themselves to a chain and get that tribe mentality anymore, and really just like pretty much liberated financial transactions across the ecosystem. So that's really was the goal here.
No, that's amazing. So looking at Simpson, for most people who see this for the first time, they're going to think, oh, this is kind of like a chat GPT for trading, stuff like that. So looking into your docs, where'd the docs go? You do have a prompting cheat sheet, which is fantastic. I love seeing this because it gives you an idea what you can do with Simpson. So obviously market analysis, technical analysis, even social sentiment, which I think is interesting, along with, you know, a score and the ability to, oh man, I'd love to see Simpson roast Ansem.
Got to try it out, man. He does not either. Yeah.
Oh man, that takes some gumption to do. So I had two specific questions about this because I thought it was interesting.
Yep.
What I think is great is you found a way to abstract the gas. So they don't have to worry about gas. This becomes like a whole wrapper around the entire experience where really you let the system just kind of take care of that. So the fact that you're able to, get this working with such fast turnaround in terms of, because you said it's faster than anything else that's out there currently, is really the key part about this.
Yep.
I guess my question is, and I've used a couple of these. For new users, what's the first thing that they need to learn about trusting a prompt like Simpson with their capital?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, right? And that's something that I think a lot of terminals, even ChatGPT, had as an issue in the first day, and it's something I call like prompt paralysis, right? All right, I'm a new user. What the hell how do I start? What is the first question I ask? What are these things like that? And we're really like everything you see now in Simpson is very much like V1, and we're working with like new features that are coming out actually pretty shortly. One of them is specifically around, it's called adaptive prompting. So what this will help with is, so like, as you start typing, it like autofills things that you can do, gives you suggestions. He already has some suggestions when you log on at the first point, like you can see what you can do with them. But even the idea, what I really want us to work towards and what we are working towards now is like where Simpson will start prompting the user. And this is something that like ChatGPT doesn't even do right now, right? I think that's the most important thing, is when you can make it more personalized, more conversationalist, because as you use him, he's learning about you, building like a trading persona, right? Like he can tell if you're like a new trader, power trader, like you've done this before, or if you're like more conservative, maybe more degent, right? And this all builds like this persona that he can then, when the strategies come out, be able to actively suggest proper like strategies for you. And so when he's able to actually prompt the user, like, hey, do you want to open a trade? Do you need help learning how to trade perpetuals? Do you even know what perpetuals are in general, right? These are things that like make it intertwine product with education. And so when people will come on board, they'll have an immediate access point into not only insights and all the things you see here, but also be able to learn how to trade if they really want to do that, and also have the agent, guide them through these things, right? And I think that's a very important thing, and I think that's honestly one of our differentiators versus other people, in the sense that like other terminals are very much, one, they're unpersonalized, right? So it's like it feels very much like a bot, like a computer you're talking to. Second thing is that a lot of it, and we call what we do implicit DeFi and implicit prompting. And so you speak in terms of goals, right? I.e., like I just want to open a trade, I want to close a trade or something like that, right? You speak in terms of goals, whereas other terminals you have to speak in terms of like specific instructions or what we call explicit DeFi. So it's like you'll see those ones and it'll be like, I want to open a trade on this chain, on this protocol using gas from this wallet and stuff like that, right? When you have to outline all the instructions for the AI, really, where is the AI? And really where at that point you're kind of lost the new users because they don't know those chains, they don't know those protocols, they don't even know what gas fees for the most part are.
Exactly.
Right. So we did very much everything. We built all the tech that you see is built in-house, by the way. And that was for the purpose of really removing all these things. And so you'll see a lot more coming out to even further that user experience and that user onboarding. And that's something we're really excited about coming.
So I was wondering if, and Jirachi and myself being builders in this space and, coding nerds, can you speak a little bit to the sauce about what's being aggregated here? I mean, are you using mainly things on Arbitrum? Are you using Hyperliquid Core? What are the things that are kind of being looked at when you're looking at how people either want to execute trades or get sentiment on trades, things like that? Or is it all just in-house, like on a platform you've just built?
Yeah, I can answer that for sure. So making sure I understand your question, like how do we best determine what's like where things should, like what things should be integrated, or like how to like position ourselves in that space, right? Or is it like where the data is coming from, stuff like that?
A little bit of both, right? Because if I'm just coming in and I'm just saying, I need you to go take, let's say I've deposited $100 into Simpson and just say, I need you to go buy $50 of Sol or $50 of BTC. What exactly, kind of walk me through from a tech standpoint.
How that flow is.
Yeah, how that flow is.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. So everything for context is built on intent-based architecture, right? So when you come onto Simpson, and I see you have the 6 core systems right there. Yeah, those are the 6 things that make these things possible. When you come on Simpson and you say, I want to open a 10x long on Bitcoin with $25, right? That's an example of a very basic trade. Okay. So what's happening in the system is everything we have integrated with like Hyperliquid, GMX, Gains Network, etc. Right? That intent goes out into our intent pooling engine, and that gets picked up by the different solvers that we have in our distributed solver network. These solvers are like party market makers that help facilitate trading on different chains. And so what they'll do is they'll source the best path, place, and liquidity to meet your intent. Right. So say you wanted, maybe an example of another intent was like, I want to do all that, but with the cheapest fees, right? We'll go find the protocol that has the cheapest fees and then automatically route your trade there and give you a quote on that trade and you accept it. And then it's immediately executed on your behalf. Right. And how that works at a more deeper level, right? So why you're able to do the cross-chain operations is you, as a user, when you open a trade, your collateral locks on whatever, we'll call it the source chain or wherever you started on. And let's say you want to open on Hyperliquid, but you're not on Hyperliquid. We'll call that the destination chain, right? So your solver locks on the source chain, the solver's collateral locks on the destination chain. The solver executes the trade on behalf of the user's wallet. And then once that trade is confirmed to be open, the user's collateral on the source chain unlocks, goes to the solver. And so it's basically like a handshake between them. But I would like to point out, at no point in time during that trade do you ever lose custody or control. It's fully self-custodial, so you'll never, you can stop it, you can do whatever, you can even control it from any way you want, but you never lose assets, and the solvers never have access to your wallet per se. They only have asset access via delegated actions, so they're only able to do specific actions on your behalf that you approve, i.e. open a trade, i.e. close a trade, nothing more, nothing less. So it's very much of a verified system and also very trustless system.
No, that's great. Jirachi, well, I kind of think of the next thing I want to ask. Do you have any questions?
I have so many questions. Chopin, it's very good to meet you, brother. It's super, super cool. This is also very, very, very cool. Have you guys ever looked at I only say this out of a technical curiosity. This would not make sense from a cost perspective, but there's a BitTensor subnet that provides that Twitter data. That's the same kind of stuff that you guys are looking at and that you're pulling from. Have you ever thought about using something like that as like your data, as like your source of truth, or do you guys use like Twitter's API directly?
Yeah. So we scrape Twitter.
Heard.
We do it very cost effectively, actually, which is actually something like side note. So we just launched Simpson onto the Virtual's ACP program, and that's
nice.
That's one of his big things, is because access to Twitter data is very expensive and very hard to get, and so we can actually add that as a service from Simpson to other agents. So that's one thing. And we also take data in from a bunch of different venues, whether it's like Glassnode, Lunar Crush, whatever. We have dozens of different data sources that do this. And we aggregate all that data actually as well into our Simpson score, is right there. And what this score is it's a strength score, rather from bearish to bullish on certain assets, and it combines technical analysis, momentum, and social sentiment all into one easy number, so people can actually read that. And it's actually been very profitable for our users that we've seen. Obviously non-financial advice, right? But we've seen at least a 70 to 80% hit rate, which has been great on that score. But yeah, in terms of data, we already have that already in place, and so it's actually ironic that they offer that, because we can also offer that as well to other people.
No, that's super cool. I'm gonna shoot you a message on Twitter about that. I got some. It depends on. Let's not talk here, but cost effective is cost effective, and I'm looking for cost effective Twitter data at all times. The method that we go about to get large amounts of, not Drosera, but me and some of the other projects I'm working on, we use a ton of automated accounts with residential proxies with their own browser fingerprint. And it's this whole
don't give them the sauce, brother.
I know. It's this whole big in-depth. It's just a pain in the ass.
It is.
It's a pain. If I could just buy it from somewhere and not have to pay those atrocious fees, I would do it most likely.
Happy to talk.
So yeah, let's talk for sure. That's very cool. I like this.
No, for me, the reason why I'm asking the questions, honestly, Chopin, is because there are multiple agent clusters that are out there, swarms, doing a piece of what you guys are doing in one platform, right? The only thing I definitely see that you guys aren't tackling, which is perfectly fine, is going towards liquidity provision and that type of thing. I don't know if that's necessarily the wheelhouse you want to get into, but what's that?
I said actually, yeah. So yeah. So on that, right? So we say perps, right? But mind you, perps is just right now, it's the niche we're filling,
right?
But we designed the entire system to handle generalized executions. So what that means is that basically any DeFi primitive is capable to be built on top of our system, and they will be built on top of our system. It's already in the pipeline of our thing. So our idea is really to conquer perps, because we saw perps. One, it's the highest amount of volume that's plugged through DeFi in general, but also it has the highest friction points, the highest need for education, and the highest need for this kind of automation. And so it made sense, and we're the only ones who can do it properly, right, across chains. That's why you don't see any other agents be able to do that. You see them doing more lending and swapping. But ironically, if you do perps first, like we did, that's the hard one. Lending, borrowing, swapping, dynamic yield generation, that's very straightforward, and that will come out in very quick succession after these things. So
no, I love it, and it's fairly platform agnostic too, which is fantastic. When you mentioned intents, I'm like, haha, that's how this is all being done, which is fantastic. So what I think this is great for is it's a good buffer for people who are new to the space, who aren't really comfortable with going and doing their own research, right? Especially if they have no idea what a perp is, understanding how, streamia and funding fees and long short premiums that you have to pay. This can really obfuscate and just take a lot of that away from the user, which I think is good. And what I love about it is there's just a lot of flexibility, and the Simpson score is absolutely badass, actually.
Yeah, because I totally agree with that, right? I think there's just too much noise, and there's
Yep.
the industry and the market as itself moves way too fast for the common person to keep up with. And so if you're going to have a dedicated spot that does basically everything you would need, whether it's research, execution, and whatnot, all in one place, and then be able to automate that, that's a beautiful future, right? And like it's our prediction too, like within the next 5 years, the how people interact with DeFi is going to be completely changed. We actually foresee that most DeFi, like traditional DeFi UIs, like how people interact, will actually be replaced with more of these agentic tradings terminals. And those protocols will become more backend references rather than actual like consumer facing applications. Because most of the interactions with those protocols will be done through like something like Symphony and stuff like that. And so we are positioning ourselves to become the de facto execution rail for the entire agentic economy when that does take place. And so that's really like what we're moving forward to.
Yeah, what I love about this is you're essentially, with things like this, you're removing, I mean, you're frankly removing the fat fingering, right? The human error, because you're relying on, the great system that you're building here that's obviously going to be continuously improving based on the data you're getting from people using the system to just become better and better over time. Last thing I'll leave you with is specifically if you have any data on some results. I know that you guys have been celebrating a lot of people in the Discord for big big wins and stuff like that. Is there any of those that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's funny. I'll mention this too quickly while you say the human error, and that's really what we want to remove is the human emotion, because I've seen time and time again where people have been like up for days on our platform for like I'm talking like 500, 600%. And
wow,
that hasn't even been uncommon, random, and then they just hold because they're like, oh, they get greedy, So once we are able to like, and with the next like update that's coming with this full automation for trigger orders and stuff like that, where the AI is able to handle those things for closing your trades and whatnot. I expect those to go even higher and like in terms of profitability. But even now, I'd say like the overall user profitability has been like 70%.
70%.
Yeah, it's been really well. And I think I'm telling you, because I think most reason why people don't do well in trading is because of themselves, right?
Oh yeah.
It's that simple. Like it's the ability to control your emotions, and they teach you this if you ever go on a trading course. Like most of the chapters and stuff like that, or what people teach, or how to control yourself and your greed and your fear and whatnot. And like that's where people make a lot of mistakes, or they get into or they go onto a trading platform and get bored, and they're like just open a random trade, even though it's not not the proper time to enter, but people get like bored. And so like I'm saying, once you remove all those things, like you see people start doing much better. And I'll put this out there, right? Most of the people on our platform, they're not normal perp traders. Like these are a lot of retail users that have what I call perp curious. They just never got into perps, and they were able to become, like, our goal was to make them pro traders in seconds. And so we're seeing the effects of that play out early already, with just their V1 version, and not even taking into account what's coming. So it's been very exciting for us.
No, that's fantastic. So for those who are curious, like the best risk-adjusted return you can get on Wall Street with like the best high-powered hedge fund, roughly about 30%, and that takes some work. So the fact that regular users are coming in with Simpson and on average close to 70% is massive. I've seen a lot of these platforms. I think what you guys have done is taken the hard parts first, which is great. Not to name names on other agent platforms, but I've seen some that like they've put a lot of work into getting yappers to talk about them, and you go and you use the product and all they're doing is DCA. Or you see another thing, it's just gonna do a cross-chain swap. Fantastic. And that's it, but it's not very intuitive. So Simpson having the foresight to help regular people and prompt them, which is fantastic on that, I think is really a really good way to go. So yeah, super big fan of what you guys are building here at Symphony with Simpson and Symphony AI. Go ahead and give us the elevator, I guess, on the way out here. And thanks for joining us, of course, today.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on. This has been a pleasure. Yeah, definitely. If anybody's interested in trying out, just go to symphony.io. That's their website. You can follow up with the latest news on our Twitter, which is Symphony.io is the handle. There'll be a lot more updates coming out, like I said, with the stop loss, trigger orders, everything like that. And then you'll see some strategies. We already have a pipeline too of over 200 agents that are about to be activated onto onto the Symphony network. So you have a much more feature-rich portal to activate with these, to interact with these different agents. Lots moving, so it's definitely the right time to get in here. And I totally agree with you on the Yapper thing and all the mind share. And I think that's a crypto specific industry issues. We put way too much emphasis on, mind share versus actual core product. And I think those projects do well in the short term, but also they don't really survive in the sustainable term because they don't really think of, what's the real user that they're trying to target here, right? And so we very actively join our community. On that point, join our community. We're very active on incorporating users' feedback. We love our community because they've been so helpful in outlining things they want to see, new features, what's most important, and we've been very fast at incorporating those ideas into our platform to make it an overall better experience in the way we can make the easiest entry point into crypto and engaging with the agentic economy in the future. So yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, man. But
yeah, anytime you want to be on panel, man, come back. Would love to get your takes and thoughts. Really enjoyed having you on today.
I would love to. Appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks again to Chopin, co-founder of Symphony for me. Or check them out. It's in the comments if you haven't been, symphony.io. You can also check out Symphony.io on Twitter, on their socials as well. And join the Discord. I'm a member of the Discord. I can vouch for the service as well as the community. Great group of people they have in there. Really going towards one goal, which is to make this the best experience as possible in Web3, on-chain, and DeFi. Jirachi, my brother in code.
Yes,
how can people
sir.
find you at Drosera?
Man, anybody who wants to chat all things automation, security, infrastructure, unlimited bandwidth for Ethereum, and general Solidity work, please reach out to me on Twitter, on Telegram, via email. Jirachi Wishmaster on Telegram, OX Jirachi on Twitter. Please feel free to hit me. Anything that you are currently doing in Ethereum can likely be done cheaper, executed faster, and there is an even stronger likelihood that we can lower your general risk via our automations. So a lot of advantages, some excellent insurance providers working with us right now too, as we continue to develop the program and we race towards mainnet, which is going to be coming, it looks like in September, we think. So please let me know. Talk to me if you can get in and I can make something happen for you before we launch into mainnet. I promise you your life will be extra good. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, check out Drosera, please. Fantastic group there. Really, they've gained an amazing asset in Jirachi. Really excited to see you lead that group to new heights, sir.
Oh, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I did want to push my my personal Twitter again. We did celebrate 10 years of Ethereum today, but if you check me out on my actual Twitter, which is at C Soriano, at the DeFi Professor, I've got a really cool article here that if you know anybody who's looking to get started in DeFi, I'm writing articles specifically to help new users get into the group. I have one on a DeFi starter pack, on the Genius Act and why stablecoins are important, as well as about self-custody. I have 3 articles on there. Please do check those out. It's the pinned post on my profile. Feel free to follow, and I will follow you back. Also, check out Total Value Locked, our free group here from Beacon. Absolutely free to join. Learn from the best and the best in the business with regards to getting into DeFi. If you are DeFi curious, you're hearing the word DeFi. I'm hearing it now from a lot of KOLs and influencers on the timeline that DeFi is just starting. No, it's been here for a long time, and we're the leading resource for DeFi education and onboarding. We've helped tens of thousands of people get in this space since 2021. We do this call every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, here on our YouTube, our Twitter, our Twitch, and other socials. Also, check out our Twitter Spaces. We're doing On Air with Beacon every Tuesday. We're hoping for 2 p.m. Eastern, but follow us, and we'll get you right on what those are going to be. Definitely want to thank our guests for this week again. Jirachi from Drosera, Chopin from Symphony. Please check them out. Please follow everybody here on the panel. And as we say here, Everybody stick around, please. Once we end the call, 07, beacons up, banks down. Take care, everybody. We'll see you for the next show next week. Take care.